Teddy Pendergrass. The name alone carries the weight of soul, charisma, and unimaginable tragedy. Known as the velvet voice of the 1970s R&B scene, Pendergrass rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most magnetic and powerful singers of his time. Yet behind the fame and the glittering concerts was a life marked by shocking misfortune, personal struggle, and heartbreak. His story is a bittersweet tale of triumph and downfall, wealth and loss, fame and forgotten places. One of the most haunting pieces of his legacy is the mystery surrounding his once lavish mansion, a grand house now reduced to decay and silence. Along with the truth of his net worth and the devastating circumstances of his death, this story offers an unforgettable glimpse into the cost of stardom. This is the real life of Teddy Pendergrass, his abandoned home, his fortune gained and lost, and the tragic ending that stunned the music world. From the church to stardom, a voice unlike any other, born Theodore Dries Pendergrass on March 26, 1950 in Kingstree, South Carolina, Teddy grew up in the rough neighborhoods of Philadelphia, raised by his single mother. From an early age, he showed an exceptional gift for music, singing in church and learning to play the drums. His big break came not as a lead singer, but as a drummer for Harold, Melvin, and the Blue Notes. But destiny had other plans. His rich, husky baritone was too extraordinary to remain behind the kit. Soon enough, he became the lead vocalist, and hits like If You Don't Know Me by Now and The Love I Lost put the group on the map. When Teddy decided to go solo in the late 1970s, his fame skyrocketed. His smoldering stage presence, commanding voice, and bedroom ballads made him the first African-American male artist to release 5 consecutive platinum albums in the United States. Teddy was more than just a singer, he was a phenomenon. His concerts were so legendary that he famously held woman-only shows, driving his female fans into a frenzy. Pendergrass was at the height of success, selling millions of records and amassing substantial wealth. The rise of wealth, Pendergrass mansion and fortune. With fame came fortune. By the early 1980s, Teddy Pendergrass was worth an estimated $10 to $112 million, an enormous sum for an African-American solo artist at that time. His earnings came not only from album sales, but also from sold-out tours, merchandising, and endorsements. He invested some of this wealth into his dream home, a grand mansion in the Philadelphia suburbs. The property was sprawling, sitting on acres of land, complete with a private recording studio, luxury vehicles in the garage, a designer kitchen, and opulent living areas decorated with imported furnishings. Friends and guests described the home as a palace fit for a king of soul, a place where Teddy could unwind from his grueling schedule and enjoy the rewards of his hard work. At its peak, the house symbolized success and joy. Teddy was not only a superstar, but a proud homeowner whose fortune allowed him to live like royalty in the industry. The 1982 car crash that changed everything, but everything changed in an instant. On March 18, 1982, tragedy struck when Pendergrass was involved in a devastating car accident while driving his Rolls-Royce in Philadelphia. The vehicle hit a guardrail, crossed into oncoming traffic, and slammed into a tree. The crash left Teddy paralyzed from the chest down, confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. This tragedy halted his career at its peak. The singer who had once ruled the charts now faced endless surgeries, therapy, and the crushing emotional burden of losing his mobility and independence. The accident not only shattered his body, but also disrupted his career, reducing his income drastically. Medical expenses soared into the millions. Insurance, legal fees, and renovations to make his home wheelchair accessible drained his wealth. Pendergrass tried to make a comeback, which he bravely did, releasing albums and performing again. But the golden era of unstoppable success was over. The mansion's decline into abandonment. After the accident, Teddy's beautiful mansion, once a symbol of glory, began its slow descent into decline. The massive house required constant maintenance, something his reduced finances and physical limitations could not sustain. Though he lived there for years after the crash, parts of the mansion were left unused and uncared for, slowly wearing down under the weight of time. Eventually, after Teddy's health declined further in the 2000s, the mansion was sold and fell into new ownership. But the new owners reportedly failed to keep up the property. By the mid-2010s, urban explorers and local photographers documented the house in a haunting state: broken windows, crumbling walls, mold creeping across ceilings, and collapsed floors in certain rooms. Some rumors suggest that personal items, including old tour costumes, platinum records, and memorabilia, were left behind in the attic and basement. These claims sparked waves of interest, but no official verification was ever made. Fans mourn not just the loss of the man, but also the silent death of his once proud home. The state of Teddy Pendergrass' net worth at death. On the time of his death on January 13, 2010, Teddy Pendergrass' net worth had dwindled. Estimates suggest he was worth around $500,000 to $1 million. a far cry from his 1980s peak of over 10 million. Medical bills, divorce settlements, estate taxes, and the cost of maintaining his home drained much of his wealth. Though he made a courageous return to music, including a performance at Live Aid in 1985 and several successful album releases, he never regained the massive earnings of his early years. Pendergrass also spent heavily on philanthropy, founding the Teddy Pendergrass Alliance to help those with spinal cord injuries, a cause close to his heart after his own life-changing accident. Sadly, the wealth he built was not enough to secure a vast estate or generational fortune. However, his posthumous earnings, streaming royalties, greatest hits sales, and the rights to his music have reportedly stabilized his estate since his death, benefiting his family and charitable causes. The final years, courage in the face of pain, Pendergrass never allowed his disability to define him. In interviews in his 1998 autobiography, Truly Blessed, he spoke openly about the emotional and spiritual journey of adapting to life in a wheelchair. His story inspired millions, showing that even in tragedy, strength and grace could endure. In 2009, he underwent colon cancer surgery. Although initially successful, complications followed, and after months of struggling with recovery, Pendergrass passed away on January 13, 2010, at age 59. The outpouring of grief was immense. Fans, musicians, and celebrities paid tribute to the man whose voice had once filled arenas and bedrooms alike. Stevie Wonder, Patti LaBelle, and other icons mourned a friend and colleague whose talent had touched the world. The legacy left behind, even as his mansion crumbled and his fortune faded, Teddy Pendergrass left behind something more valuable than material wealth, a musical legacy that endures. Songs like Turn Off the Lights, Close the Door, Love TKO, and You're My Latest, My Greatest Inspiration remain timeless, sampled by hip-hop artists, covered by soul singers, and played in romantic playlists worldwide. Pendergrass also opened doors for male R&B artists, becoming one of the first black men marketed as a true sex symbol in American music, a role that influenced generations of performers from Luther Vandross to Usher. His courage following his accident elevated him to hero status, not because of pity, but because of resilience. He faced unimaginable loss and built a second career out of sheer determination. The abandoned mansion, a symbol of lost glory. Today, Teddy Pendergrass' former home remains a symbol of fleeting fame. Locals report that the house, still in disrepair, is occasionally trespassed by explorers who seek traces of the superstar's past. Some claim to have found personal effects, photographs, sheet music, even fan letters, but most of the house's treasures were either removed or lost long ago. Unlike the museums built to honor Elvis Presley or Ray Charles, Pendergrass Mansion was left to rot with no official preservation or historical marker. In this way, his house reflects the darker truth of the music industry, the speed with which fame can be forgotten when the spotlight fades. The life of Teddy Pendergrass is the story of the American dream, achieved, lost, and mourned. From his early days in Philadelphia's churches to selling out arenas, from a millionaire superstar to a wheelchair-bound survivor, from mansion owner to abandoned home, his journey was as soaring as it was heartbreaking. Though his house may stand in silence and his fortune may have slipped away, his voice will forever echo in the soul of American music. Every time Close the Door or Love TKO plays, listeners remember a man whose passion, pain, and power transcended the cruel twists of fate. Teddy Pendergrass lived fast, sang hard, and died young, but his story remains a lesson in fame's fleeting nature, the price of greatness, and the enduring beauty of soul.